I'd like to find out about incorporating in Delaware while doing business outside of the US. So absolutely, the US is one of the most liberal economies on planet Earth. So you didn't say whether you're a US person or not, but regardless of whether you're a US person or you're not, you're free to incorporate a company in Delaware. You can absolutely do so. The choice of like state within the union, because an LLC is something that's formed at a state level. So you first have to go to a state, for example, Delaware, and form it. And then once you've done that, then you go to the federal government and say how you would like it to be taxed. Because the federal government doesn't exactly know how to treat an LLC. So you need to tell them. If you don't say anything, and it's it's a single member LLC, then it's treated as a disregarded entity, right? So if it is there's more than one member, then it'll be treated as, the default would be a partnership. But you can elect to have it treated as a C Corp or an S Corp. A C Corp as a non-US person, but an S Corp is limited to US persons. Okay, I see you just wrote below that you are a US person. Okay, fine. So you're asking whether using a Delaware company a Delaware LLC while living and working outside of the US, is it better than being self-employed? Okay, so here's the deal. There's no tax benefit to forming an LLC, to forming a single member LLC, as opposed to just invoicing your clients in your own name, being self-employed. There's no tax benefit, absolutely none. So those who kind of peddle that idea, that kind of might be misleading. Oh, maybe they refer to facts and circumstances that are unique to that situation. But generally speaking, there's no tax benefit to be had from being a single member LLC. It's not about taxes. It is actually about liability, because I think it was Bill Gates. Bill Gates was in some sort of interview, and he was asked, like, what's the best invention of the 20th century? And you'd expected him to speak about some sort of technology, but he actually said, no, a limited liability company, because before that, when someone wanted to go into business, chances are they had to go into business in their own name. And then if things went wrong, they would be fully liable for the debt or the losses that business endeavor incurred. So, their homes, their vehicles, their horses, or whatever it is, right? They can be fully liable. But then suddenly we saw the proliferation and promotion of limited liability companies. And then it does what it says. It limits the liability. So suddenly people could be more entrepreneurial, because if things didn't go right the first time, and as an entrepreneur, most people fail and succeed, that's just the way it is, then suddenly your losses will be limited to what you invested in that company. You won't be exposed to, unlimited liability where people can come and take your personal assets for your failed business endeavor. So that was amazing. So that's absolutely great. So to answer your question, the LLC is really about protecting yourself from lawsuits, so protecting yourself from the activity of the business. And especially with the US, obviously, the US is a very litigious place. A client or a customer might get upset and they can sue you. So you really want to have an LLC. It's not just about forming an LLC. You need to be conscious of where you're going to form it, because that might be informed by where you are, where the customers are, where you may have nexus, et cetera, et cetera. And you need to run it in a formal way. So you need to segregate the funds from your personal funds. You need to treat it in the way in which one can say that it is a separate legal entity from you. So in the event of some sort of legal dispute, the veil of incorporation cannot be pierced. So the person that's suing you can't go through the company and come after you personally. So it's really important to treat the LLC in a way that it is a separate business from you. Okay? But generally speaking, there is no tax benefit. If it is, as you mentioned, you're running it from outside of the US, you'd probably want to have a talk with an advisor as to whether the LLC is the best structure for you, because many jurisdictions that freelancers or remote workers go to, they have rules around management and control. So if it is that you're running the company, even though it's a US company, but you're running it from within their borders, then, there may be corporate tax implications to that. So you probably want to get advice before you go forward with it. I hope that helps.
So if you're a 6, 7, or 8-figure investor, entrepreneur, or business owner who needs a tailor-made solution from a qualified team of professionals, we can help you achieve the international lifestyle, the freedom, and even the tax savings you're looking for. Visit us at htj.tax and live that international life.